Hi guys, this is Bhavna from India today. How are you?
Really
Good.
good. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much. I believe that both of your characters are so central to the season. It always were. I mean, this is redundant, but I want to tell you that I enjoyed the first season, and there's so much more to look forward to in the second season. But Rand's character is something, Joshua, which has been very mysterious for some reason. I mean, of course, you see him doing things in the first season, but there's always a reason behind whatever he's doing. He's the most mysterious character for me personally. I want to know, when the character comes to you in the second season, especially, how do you approach it? Is there something new that you personally try to bring certain nuance to the character from your side?
Well, what's very different season two is that he now knows that he's the dead dragon, and that changes everything. That really changes everything. And where he starts in season two is that he's far away from his friends, which is very different as well. He's trying to protect his friends by staying away from them because he's a man who can channel, and that means that he's a danger to anyone close to him.
Right.
So he has a secret, and he is the secret. So that's very different from season one.
But is it challenge? Like you said, I mean, you actually described it correctly. He is the secret, but he has his own secrets. I believe that is a very difficult and challenging state of mind to be in as well. When you are even shooting for it, what is your state of mind like? You know, to know that you are securing, so you're trying to hide something, but you are also,
Yes.
I mean, can you imagine? Like, I can't even put it in words. It's so difficult.
Well, it's true what you say. It's very isolating because he sees things that other people don't see, and he feels things that other people don't feel. Like there's a scene at the start of season two where he sees like a poor little boy on the street, and he gives him a coin. Like that is a very small thing, but it's also because he feels the responsibility to the world, but he can't share that to with anyone else. So
Mm.
it's very isolating. I feel like it's very confusing and it's very overwhelming, and he feels like he doesn't really belong anywhere.
Does it get I'm coming to you, Marcus, but really, does it ever get frustrating? Because to have this much responsibility, I mean, come on, at some point you're just like, oh, can I just live my life once for real, like not care about anything else?
Yeah. I think Brand doesn't want to be the dragon. He just wants a sheep, basically, but there's no way back.
Lovely. Marcus, your character also involves a lot of physical strength, and there's so much to look forward to and learn new form of, I mean, how to fight and all of those things. I want to
Hmm.
know, what was the most challenging part though, because there's emotional arc to the character, but there's also a lot of physical strength that can drain you as an actor when you're on set. How do you balance both of it? Are there days where you find it really difficult to pull through?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think with Perrin's arc, he's obviously got this sort of kind of odd relationship with violence, but I think he continues to kind of be involved in it and surrounded by it. And I think that continues into season two. And I think
Right.
there's something quite nice about being put into situations that are physically demanding and quite challenging. And I think as a character, someone who kind of mentally finds that quite tricky and whether he should be involved in warfare or fighting and battles. And I think it continues in season two. And I think the people he kind of comes into contact with kind of have different philosophies around violence, and he has to sort of question which one suits him the most. But yeah, it's very physical, and I think kind of right from the start,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's
Physically easy. I
yeah.
mean, look at this guy. We don't fit in the frame together.
This guy.
But I feel that's a misconception most people have, right? Because you look a certain way, people would think that it's easy to sort of get through the physical training aspect of things.
Mm.
But I feel that it's very difficult otherwise. Is it really easy for you, Marcus, or you really had to
Um,
train yourself?
I think with like season two, there was, he's kind of with a new group of people. He's kind of on the hunt for the horn, and I think he's sort of, yeah, finding himself in situations where he does have to maybe pick up a weapon and fight and those kind of things. And it definitely just, I think with a lot of the departments, like hair and makeup, costume, I think the stunts kind of went up a level as well. So it was physically demanding, but I think I think that was good. I think
But
if it doesn't feel
but you're the
challenging,
man for it,
I
Marcus.
hope
You
so.
can do
I
it.
hope so. We'll see. Yeah.
But lastly, I want to know from you. I mean, if your particular characters were to exist in another universe, because everyone is talking about multiverse, so let's bring that here as well. Only your character, if it could exist in another universe, which universe would you want that to be in? Rand in which universe, or parents in which universe?
In another universe.
Another universe. Oh my God. Wow.
That's beyond. That question is beyond.
I believe that actually Rand's character could be in Stranger Things universe. It's kind of like, yeah, maybe.
Stranger Things.
Or just like in this world.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was just thinking,
Just go
like,
back to this world.
just like our world would be quite cool.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Bhavna from India Today. How are you, both of you, Sida and Donal? How are you?
Very well, very well.
Good,
How are
thank
you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for asking. I have to tell you that I'm very excited for the second season, but also both of you are new to this season. I want to know, first day on set, did it feel like home, or did it take a little bit of time to sort of, warm up to the entire set and the characters? What was it like?
I would say it certainly was, it was very overwhelming the first day. I think nothing could quite prepare me for like how immense the set and the size of this production is. And it was just incredible to kind of walk into this space that was just exactly how I'd read about it in the books, down to the finer details of the rooms. And so it was this weird sense of kind of feeling quite overwhelmed, but at the same time feeling so welcomed. And the combination of the kind of hair and makeup and your costume, and then you're in the space, and it was just like, after the first few takes, it just kind of all melted away, and it felt so second nature, and like it was all kind of meant to be. I think that's what's so wonderful about this job is so much of the heavy lifting is done for you in the kind of sets and the hair and makeup and the costumes and the props. Is you don't have to imagine very much. It's all there. So all you have to worry about is yourself and finding the character. Yeah.
That's all.
Pretty much.
What about you? Did you have any apprehensions? Because obviously you were stepping into the shoes of Van, who has already played Matt before, and there would obviously, I mean, of course, this is a different approach altogether, because it's a Brandon reborn and those things. But I believe there could be apprehensions because someone else has already played a character. People might come with a set notion. Did you have any of those?
Did I have any of my own set notions about the character?
Or perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, I think what worked for me was just to interrogate the source material as much as I could, and that being the books and the scripts, and that by doing that, there's like an inherent kind of spirit or energy to the character that comes out, and I think when that's there, then the character is represented accurately as per like the intentions of the writer, and everything else is just artistic kind of flair or something, so I think that was, my apprehensions was just kind of understanding the spirit of the fella, and then everything else follows suit. I think, if you kind of understand that man's mantra or ethos or way of living, then I think everything else follows suit. Yeah.
But is it difficult to get into the skin of a character like this? Because obviously you might or might not relate to every aspect or everything that the character does in the show. Sometimes your personal prejudice about it can interfere with the performance. Does it ever happen, or does it come organically? You're trained enough to separate what you feel about the character and performances.
I think maybe concerningly, I probably feel quite in line with my character, so so I don't have to push myself. But definitely, I think what's beautiful about these characters is that, especially if you're someone who has a relationship with the books, then you have seen them like through years of their life and your life, that people have a long-standing relationship with these characters. So by nature, they're so multifaceted. I think you see them in every kind of condition or aspect or frame of growth that you will always find something to relate to. And I think like all the characters are inherently inspiring because they endeavor to overcome so much.
Yeah.
And that is always something that you connect to or want to connect to. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think you can never really judge your characters. I think like approaching it, you have to kind of figure out maybe why they are that way, or why they're, because everyone always has a reason why they're that person. Even the kind of villains, or in the Wheel of Time, you kind of look at the light versus dark, and the darkness comes from somewhere. It always comes from somewhere. So I think I personally love to approach it in a way of not necessarily judging those kind of maybe flawed parts of the character, but actually kind of looking at why they're there or why they're like that.
Lovely. I think that is the right way anyway to approach a character. But lastly, I want to know from you, because theming, according to the theme of the show, which is like light versus dark, I believe this is something that can also sort of be in a crossover if we have, because everyone talks about multiverse these days. So I want to know, if you had to put your character, just your character, in another universe, which would that be and why?
Oh, wow.
I'd probably send Matt to Middle Earth and have him, I'd say he wouldn't be out of place with going on the big quest with the hobbits, like, and just getting up that Mount Doom and eating all the lammas bread and that kind of crack. I think he'd probably flourish there. I can't quite picture him in other worlds, What about you?
I think I'd love to see maybe how Elaine would fare in the Dune universe, and I think that would be really interesting with all the kind of different families there, and with Elaine being from her own kind of royal family, how the House of Jakand would fare within the Dune universe.
Wow, lovely. On that note, thank you so much. That's all the time I have. All the very best for season 2. Hi, this is Bhavna. I'm from India today. Hi, Zoe and Manlin. Tell me, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. I have to tell you that the first season was so good. And to me personally, I always love characters which are strong, female driven, because we hardly see that, especially in adaptations like these. I mean, you hardly see characters you can relate to. What I loved about the show was that I could relate to characters, I could relate to the strength and the vulnerability that they showed. But this season is going to be like much more, and I'm really curious to know what was the most challenging part, because I'll come to Zoe first, because in the last season, of course, there was a lot of physical strength and sport fighting and everything that you had to learn. This time around, if you had to pick one thing which was challenging, what was that?
Oh, that's a great question, by the way. I think I would say Nynaeve's journey in episode 3, and I won't be able to delve too much into that, but I think there is something that happens to her that kind of alters, I would say kind of alters who she is forever, and her makeup and probably her brain chemistry in a way. And in order to do that, there was just some big emotional scenes. So I think for Nynaeve, she goes through a massive emotional journey in episode 3. So I think that would be the probably the biggest test that I faced in season 2.
Wow, lovely. And Mandolin, for me, I think what I loved about your character was the fact that you come into your own, you learn how to embrace the strength that comes to you eventually in the first season. This time around, I want to know how does that character graph change for you? Because there is an arc that we will see. I mean, Mandolin is so much more than just one. Like there's so many arcs to her that I am always curious. What was the most exciting part for you this season, especially to play Agron?
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I think where we find Egwene is she's quite isolated at the White Tower, starting off as a novice, which is really like, you finish primary school, you go to high school, you're at the bottom of the food chain again, which I think is a bit of a reality check for her. I think she's kind of grappling with the shift in the relationship that she has with Nynaeve, which is such an important relationship to her. So, that rocks her to her core. And she's also grieving what she thinks is the death of Rand. So I think she's trying to find out who she is again, and learn to pull strength from herself, which is something that she explores over this season. And it's a lesson that she learns in a pretty brutal way, which we will see later in the season. But for myself, I think similar to Zoe, I think enacting these scenes has a big effect on you emotionally, and particularly if there's a physical element to it, whether it's channeling, whether it's stunts, that is also quite physically draining as well. Whilst it's really exciting to be able to, try new things and, embody the character in this way, it can also be quite exhausting. But all in all, it's a season that, I'm really proud of, and I love Egwene's journey.
I love the fact that last season there were so many new elements that were added, and fans were particularly not happy with the ending because they were probably expecting something else. I want to know what is it that they can look forward to this season. One thing, if you could tell that this is the USP, or this is the highlight for the season this time, what would that be? A little tease maybe for fans.
We don't have a COVID shutdown this time.
That's the best.
It's our secret
thing ever.
weapon.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But how important is it for both of you as actors to sort of relate to the character that you're playing? Because the women that you're playing are set in a period which you are perhaps not aware of. I mean, we have moved on. We are in the 21st century, thankfully, but there are certain elements that still exist, character traits that still exist. Does it ever interfere with the way you want to play that character? Because there could be some moral compasses or certain traits which you may not agree to as individuals, as Zoe and Mandolin. How do you approach that?
I think that's what makes our job so interesting, is particularly with Wheel of Time, we get these characters who I think us actors really understand and empathize with and connect to. And then sometimes we have to understand the ways in which they do things that we don't necessarily agree with. And I think that's also kind of, I think there's a special thing for the audience to see as well, of characters that they root for not always choosing good. Because I think that's completely reflective of life. We don't always make the best decisions and say the right things. And so it's really, really, it's a gift to play characters that are deeply flawed, and that makes them all the more real to play and exciting and truthful. So yeah, it's great. It's great to play a character that's not just one thing.
Yes.
Man, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just to echo what Zoe said, our characters go through breakups, they feel jealous, they fail, they fall in love, just like all of us. They have new beginnings. And I think that's something that everyone can relate to. And that's why these characters are so beloved, because, what's so amazing about this series is it is so expansive. And there's something that everyone can find in the characters that they see within themselves. I know I certainly have been like, oh, that's had a funny little, Egwene's life has had a funny little parallel to my life. And, you know, for sometimes it can be quite therapeutic, hey, Zoe, of like, you know, these characters can sort of be a bit of an outlet for you. But yeah, like Zoe said, the beauty of an adaptation and is what we do is we get to play, and also, you know, do what feels authentic to us. After you've been playing the character for so long, you have a real deep understanding of who they are.
Lovely. On that note, thank you so much. I have to tell you that Wheel of Time has a huge fan following in India, and I hope that you all visit India very, very soon. Thank you so much.
Oh, we hope so too.
We'd love
Thank
to.
you so
We'd
much.
love to. Thank you.